Okay, good morning. My name is Damien Owens and I work on the new product development.
For small companies or accessing information can be an issue. Like when you're working for a large practice, you can subscribe to the construction information service with a €5,000, €6,000 subscription. You can access the latest information, but as a small company, you really have to go looking far and wide to access information without having to pay the subscription. And one of the suggestions of previous workshops was to have a pay-as-you-go kind of, similar to iTunes. You look up a document and you just pay for that document when you need it. Accessing the British standards or various other documents that you might need during the process.
So it's accessing business-like information.
Yeah, without having to pay enormous subscriptions for the year.
So syndicated access to those type of information.
Yeah.
That's not the first.
Yeah.
I mean, you can access that information in various spots, but to have a central place for you to go to, do searches for documents. So let's say you're looking for a British standard on something.
I guess the other reason for doing this is that perhaps at some appropriate time there's an opportunity maybe to apply for commercialization funding, but you have to have all your ducks in a row. You have to have your market analysed, you have to have your letters of support from industry, you have to identify the gap, and this is what we're trying to do here, is actually produce something that is business-like and relevant. It might only be a prototype, but this is the challenge. The e-tenders solution, is there something there?
For the small, for the 3 to 5, we've talked about the smaller company. They do find it hard to get into the government sector, I would say. So they are in the private sector, and that's obviously fairly tough at the moment. If you're doing something we can plug into, there's no problem at all there. There is still, you do still see small companies alien to the whole idea of tendering in that process. I mean, they are still, the real small companies are still slow about getting their proposals together and accessing the information online and stuff. So there is a bit of an education requirement there for them to kind of realise, I guess this is a way we can look at getting businesses outside their small demographic and actually go and try and get businesses in a larger field, let's say, through tendering, as opposed to having to go knocking on doors in their own locality. They can go in wider areas of the tendering process, so possibly something there, yeah.
Kathy, I know there was some, Kathy reported from Enterprise Ireland, I know there was some initiative a number of years ago, maybe 18 months ago, within Enterprise Ireland to celebrate and document and list all of the major constructors, manufacturers and suppliers of the construction sector.
Oh, he's very involved. But Enterprise Ireland have been trying for a number of years to get companies. There is a section that helps with the tendering, but it's the whole critical mass thing, isn't it? It's a nightmare if you're a small company, because I've dealt with tenders from the other side, and for a small group, it's that whole continuity of supply gap that you fall through the loop on every time versus a big one. So it's almost, if CETA could have some sort of marriage bureau to bring you together, that a few of you, if you're aware, because there's quite big lead times between them. Well, marriage are convenient, shall we say?
Yes.
Get people working.
But certainly one of the biggest challenges we have is we're kind of stuck on the East Coast, We're kind of getting us out to Naas, and we're getting down to Bray, and we're maybe getting to Dundalk, but we're stuck at that. Is getting out to the region, south, west, north, and mapping the supply chain of the construction industry across the island. That's something that we need to do, and broaden the network.
But initiatives like that will do just that for you, because if people are terrified about their survival, and the word will spread very fast if there's an initiative that's going to enable people to get work in the door.
Sorry, putting across the last point.
No, what the lads were speaking about there, you're saying you're not penetrating other areas, that the network, that the jungle drums are going to beat by themselves. If people think that there's something going on, nobody's interested in a talking shop if they can't feed themselves. But if they think that your talking shop is going to facilitate an initiative that will lead to actual work and money coming in the door, then they'll come to you. Because
people in the west coast of Ireland, some of the control companies feel maybe isolated in some way. And that perhaps what we should be doing is developing a tool for the network that will cause the network to expand nationally and then by implication internationally, so make these smaller companies aware what opportunities are in the UK, in mainland Europe, how they can come together and form consortia or whatever. But I think it's very important that we get this right, that if we're spending, government funding on a solution, it's got to be the right one. So this is critically important that we get this right. Should we go down the route of building a piece of software that is effectively a project management tool, where there's lots of them already out there, or should we just develop some form of additional information service to members that will cause the network to grow and expand? It's a challenge,
The information service is important as well, but it's, from a technical point of view and from the cost of building these things, it's relatively simple. It's just a question of literally getting people together, researchers to pull this information together, so it can be produced. You can create an information board. If you know exactly what information you want in these things, and you graphically design it right, so that it's user friendly, these things, it wouldn't be very hard to make. So you could make that as an aside to your project collaboration tool, or whatever tool you decide to create. So perhaps the information tool could easily be pushed. The information as an information portal or a library or whatever you want to call it is so easy to do that it's probably it's not a huge process going through to say yes or no. If people want it, it should be put up there. The information is free in this respect.
If you have a little button, you can go, vote for yes, or vote for one or two, but it might be worth just putting the hands up and saying, sometimes it's about a good feeling, going with that belief, The first one, the information portal idea. Maybe show of hands who thinks we should go down that route. Now you might abstain, you might not feel you want to. I put my hand up, that's the one I think, but I don't influence anyone. So we forward. The second one. So I guess you don't have enough information to make a decision. Would that be right? Sorry.
Yeah, just taking up on Ralph's idea about providing some form of a service that allows small companies to gain access to the resources that bigger companies would have. I mean, if the portal was something that allowed you to either rent or buy in on a small basis, if you take the standards, rather than having to subscribe to a large system to be able to go in and buy the standards, if you take something like ProjectWise, if you have a small project, rather than investing in the infrastructure that's required for the bigger projects, to be able to go in and rent time or space or something like that. So CEDA actually becomes a reseller, if you like, or the master owner of all of these services, and rents space or time or services out to the smaller members.
Okay, thanks for your comments. I'm just conscious of time.
Yes.
We get people back to their desks in time.
Yeah.
If you have any more ideas, our email addresses are on the website, so please send on the ideas. The next phase will be, we're going to refine those concepts and zone in on one. and then go back to the membership with a storyboard / prototype and refine it further. So it's an iterative process, and as Alan says, we have to get it right.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you.
Just want to